In July of 2024, Queens of the Stone Age and a small production team ventured into the Paris Catacombs for a recording unlike anything they had attempted before. 6 million souls watching silently in the depths of the catacombs, and a frontman determined to keep a lifelong promise to his childhood self. This is Alive in the Catacombs: how it happened, why it mattered, and what it meant for Queens of the Stone Age. Josh Homme's fascination with the catacombs didn't start with the band. It began when he was only 8 years old, a history class, a photograph, and an idea that never let go.
My fascination with the catacombs started as a boy, and seeing pictures and trying to get your head around that. Obviously, in the simplest terms, there's a bunch of bodies and they're stacked in a certain manner, But you start having these immediate realizations like, these things are built out of sheer love and respect and reverence. And, no one would move 6 million, remains and stack them with such care, unless they just had an absolute love and respect for life. And that permeates that structure. So it's so dominating, and even the notion that this really started when I was around 8 in a history class, and I developed this fascination. And so I have these they're not weird, they're just a little humbling realizations that I've been working on this actually since I was little, or it's like a dream that kept evolving, and the result is this performance. It's kind of nice, actually.
For Homme, the catacombs were never about horror or shock value. What struck him was the reverence, the care with which the bones were arranged, the intention behind their resting place. He saw love, respect, a structure built by hands honoring the dead. And decades later, he wanted to bring something back. But getting into the catacombs for a performance isn't simple. Not legally, not logistically, not spiritually. Homme and the team were passed from contact to contact. Officials, historians, caretakers, each unsure why this project really mattered. To them, it was an odd request. To the band, it was a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage. Their first real visit underground happened only days before recording. The scope hit them immediately. Pitch-black tunnels, dripping ceilings, the unmistakable presence of 6 million Parisians who had once lived full, complicated lives. In the short time leading up to the Catacombs project, Homme's health had taken a hit. Between medication, pain, and overall uncertainty, most artists would postpone. Homme did the opposite. He committed even more deeply.
I think it's important context, because then we're going to get to the influence on the performance. How bad was the pain?
I did not like it, and I think everyone agrees that it's annoying to complain and things like that. There were, I also was taking all this medication, which is just can steal your voice a little bit and make you obviously pretty woozy, and the medication just wasn't working, So it was difficult for me. But I tried to, I like to joke in those moments, because, when life is good, it's funny. And when life is hard, it's really funny. I would have preferred it if it was a lot less. It was a lot.
It's always funny until someone gets hurt, and then it's just hilarious.
Right. But I also, again, I think it makes it better, because it really made me question what's important. And we agreed that when Thomas would say action, that we would just sit for 30 seconds and wait. And we do the same after. And you hear the dripping, and you're looking at each other. You're looking around, and you're just breathing. And it's like, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna, I love that feeling when it's too late. Like you can't rehearse, you can't practice, it's just time to just be what you are, and you have to let go.
Pain, for Homme, didn't diminish the performance. It sharpened it. It forced intention, a reminder that nothing here could be polished or perfect. This was about presence, about being exactly who he was in that exact moment, in the most humbling venue imaginable. Recording in the Catacombs required conditions no band would ever want to perform in. No outlets, no fresh air, and definitely no room for the usual desert rock setup. Everything had to be battery-powered. The Wurlitzer are heard throughout some songs, powered by a single car battery. Wireless mic packs were strapped to the band members, freeing them to wander the chamber like performers on a darkened stage. And the ambient noise, the crunch of gravel under a cameraman's foot, droplets echoing from the ceiling, none of it was edited out. It became a part of the music. Hami called it ASMR in there. Sound stripped to the bones, played for an audience stripped to theirs. To fully understand the session, you have to hear what the Catacombs did to their sound. So, we begin with the opening performance, a medley of Running Joke and Paper Machete. When you listen closely, you'll hear moments that would never survive a traditional studio session. A breath catching, a note bending under strain, even a sharp exhale when pain hit. These weren't mistakes. They were the point.
I think that there's such a difference between a quest for perfection and a quest for something great. They're so far apart from each other. As it translates for what we've done is that, for a number of reasons, some of them were physical for me, and then much of it was just not trying to overdo it. It's not supposed to be perfect. You're hearing take 3 of 4, take 2 of 3, take 1 of 2, take 2 of 2. There wasn't a need to, that quest wasn't for perfection. There are mistakes. There's one moment I just got this surging pain. So I'm singing, I just go, ah. But I also thought, wow, it's an amazing moment, because this is how it was. And so it almost feels like it's not my business to change it.
Hami wasn't chasing perfection. He was chasing truth. The truth of playing through pain. The truth of confronting mortality in a hall built with human remains. The truth of serving an audience that hasn't been alive for centuries, but still somehow feels present. The next piece they chose speaks directly to the themes he describes: acceptance, uncertainty, the fragile thread between suffering and healing. This is Suture Up Your Future. Some fans may wonder why the band didn't perform bigger hits in the Catacombs. But for Hami, the selection was never about chart rankings. It was about speaking to the 6 million people who would never clap, but who deserved a story worth hearing.
I'd like to be able to make the right guess for a situation. And even the songs we chose, it's like, we're not supposed to roll the hits in the Catacombs. Well, it's supposed to be about family, acceptance, the moments that difficulties arise, and the moments just after they're solved, or they're not solved, they're dealt with, And it was because it was like, if you've been in here for a couple hundred years, what do you want to hear about? What do you want to hear? And it was like trying to gauge the requests of 6 million requests, It's like, you'd want to hear about family, you'd want to hear about love, loss, and acceptance as the bridge between them,
Family, acceptance, love, loss, and the strange, fragile bridge connecting the two. Hami believed those were the themes the dead would request, if they could request anything at all. One of the album's most striking visuals, Hami lying flat on the stones, wasn't staged. He simply needed a break. Pain, exhaustion, and the weight of the moment pressed him down, and as he lay there, a melody formed. The Catacombs, it seems, answered back. From that pause, we move on to one of the performance's most intimate moments. A stripped, aching version of the 2005 classic, This Is I Never Came. Alive in the Catacombs isn't just an acoustic set. It isn't a stunt. It isn't a novelty. It's a dialogue between the living and the dead, between pain and art, between what we carry and what we eventually leave behind. Every aesthetic choice, every improvisation, every moment of rawness was made in deference to the catacombs themselves. As Hami put it, the Catacombs is the protagonist. What Queens of the Stone Age brought underground wasn't a concert. It was an offering.